Hi Professor, this is the final project for the CDA3003 class in which we're going to be building a computer. Those are the components that we're going to be using, and we could see over here we have the motherboard. We also we have our case over here, and we have our keyboard. Actually this computer was built between old parts and new parts, so we have this keyboard with a PS2 connection, came from another computer. The motherboard is actually quite new. You can see the I/O ports. We have, make sure don't drop it, the one for the keyboard, for a mouse. You have USB connections. You have DVI connections for video, VGA connections, a couple more USB ports, our RJ45, which is the connection for the LAN, for the networking, and our input and output for audio. We're also going to be using an AMD A6 CPU processor. It's a tri-core. We have a DDR3 memory sticks. We actually are running right now. We have 8 gigabytes total, 4 and 4. We have our SATA cables, which we're going to be using 2 of them. We're going to be using one for our CD DVD drive, and also we're going to be using it on this hard disk drive. It's a 250 gigabyte. So we have one for one, and we have one for the other one. Both of them use SATA connections. So at this point, we have the mouse. This mouse is actually a USB mouse, which we could incorporate with the motherboard. We have our PSU, our power supply over here. We have our VGA cable. There you go, VGA cable. This one is actually going to be used for a monitor over here, which it uses a VGA connection. So this one over here is an LCD monitor. It's really thin compared to the old CDR monitors. And last but not least, and it's really important for any technician out there, especially IT, you might want to work on a workbench that is actually of wood or at least insulated. You don't want any electrostatic to be passed on to the components. So in this case, I'm using an ESD wristband. This actually, we're going to be wrapping it around and tie it right here on our arm. And the other connection, which is a alligator clip, just connected to the case. That way you're insulated. That way, if you have any ESD on you, when you touch the component, you don't fry your components. In this case, you could fry any circuit board like your CPU, your memory sticks, your motherboards, because they're actually exposed. So these components that are exposed could actually get fried a lot faster if you have ESD. Electrostatic discharge, pretty much. Another important thing to have as an IT, let me put this on the side, it's a basic. This over here, this case over here only costs $12. And it's bought from Company USA. It's just a basic PC assembly kit for, it brings some of the screwdrivers and some that we have right here. This is the motherboard, also called main board in some cases. We have a PCI slot, let's see, right there. This is a PCI E 2nd generation. We have our CMOS battery, And this is our PCIe, our first generation. We also are using the type of insertion socket is FM1, which is the new kind of socket that is gonna be used with the, let's see, AMD6, AMD4, and so far AMD8 type of CPUs. Okay, we have our memory slots over here. In this case, this motherboard holds up to 16 gigabytes. I'm gonna be using these are DDR3, by the way. We have over here our power connection. This is for the motherboard. We have the one for the CPU fan. We have our main connection to the motherboard. Over here, this is a ATX 24-pin connection. We also have our input output ports over here on the side of here, which we're gonna go into it and explain those. Okay, let's talk about the input and output ports on this motherboard. As we can see over here, we have 4 USB, these are USB 3 by the way, 4 USB ports over here. We have 2 more USB ports over here, this one and this one. Okay, we have the keyboard port, that's for the PS2 type of connection, and this one, the green one, is PS2 also, but this one is for the mouse. Now, color conventions were used to facilitate users to connect the keyboard and mouse to the right port. This one over here that we have, this is the DVI, it's a video connection, and this one over here is a VGA connection, also for video. Now we could see over here, this port over here, that one is the LAN. That one is used for networking, wire connections. You can see that it's gonna have one LED here and one LED on this side over here. It has an LED light on each side with the lights, so it could let you know if the port is active, if there's communication or not. Also, you have your audio input and output on this side over here. Okay, so let's start with building a computer. We want to have a clean workspace. We have our case over here set up with a clear panel over here. We also have our power supply ready. We have the screws that the power supply actually brought in. Another important thing to have when we're going to start working on the computer is our ESD wristband. And also the little case that brings all the screwdrivers in order for us to be working on it. It would make our life a lot easier just to build our computer. And of course, first item that we're going to put in, well, one of the first items that we're actually going to put in our case is our motherboard. Let's get to it. Start prepping everything. Let me move out the power supply out of the way. Let me move the motherboard out of the way. Always have to be careful when handling the motherboard. Let's get our case ready. This type of case is a G-Lite from Cooler Master. You see it on the back. The type of screws it has, you actually could take them off with your fingers. This is the first time. So let's get our case here. drivers. And let's open up this side over here where we see the clear panels. And that way we know that on the other side is where the motherboard is gonna be right. Just need to loosen it up a little bit, and at least this type of case, the type of screw it has is a Phillips head, but it's actually able to, you could actually take it out with your fingers. You just gotta loosen it up a little bit the first time. Put them aside, make sure you don't lose those ones. Slide it back, comes off, there it goes. First one down. Let's put this over here. Clear up our workspace a little. Now we have the case, we see it has some holes over here on top, some on the back, and as well you can see here, some at the bottom. This one actually has a filter, so that way you don't get that much dust inside. And you could put a fan actually here, here, and in these two locations over here up top, which these two over here have a filter. A unique thing about this case is it actually has, you get to put the power supply at the bottom instead of where it usually goes here on top. And see, you can see the expansion base over here, on this side over here. And it has the expansion base here at the bottom for hard drives. These ones over here are mostly for CD drives, Blu-rays, and stuff like that. And it has two extra USB ports, one audio input, that's for microphone, and one audio output, that's for the headphones. Your power and reset button, power top, reset here at the bottom, and your LED lights over here to let you know if the hard drive is actually on, the computer is on, and if the hard drive is being read. Now, when we come here and look inside, we're gonna see that it has, this case in particular, has already as a fan, and also brings screwdrivers, zip ties, a lot of screws, and also zip ties. It also brings a speaker. Goes the zip ties. These are motherboard screwdrivers. Set of instructions for the standoff. This is actually the computer speaker. It's just that beep noise that you get in the beginning. To the post. And the screws. Put this on the side here. Make sure we don't lose that. We're going to use it as we go. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to see how the motherboard is going to sit over here. So let's actually flip this over. And let's change to a better view.